energy and leave the other aspects to someone who can talk better about it, Sergio. So let me highlight, just to illustrate in order to understand the challenge, the challenge faced in order to comply with the scenarios depicted by IEA in Climate Action Tracker. And in order to do that, focusing on energy, I will use, as we'll see, some projections of green investments needs made by McKinsey in another report on the Global Energy Report. So, but this chart is just to show you what a tough ride we have. As you can see, carbon-based energy remains essential to the global economy, as you can see. So departing from that will be both, will be necessary but challengeful. See, just to highlight what I'm saying, look at the evolution of energy consumption in the United States. And as you can note, the weight of fossil fuels and nuclear energy is quite big in the U.S. economy. It has been like this, and so the way to go is indeed, very, very, very steep. Let me now show to you another way to look at the emissions curve presented by the McKinsey in the Global Energy Report. Take into account, let's say, scenarios regarding levels of investment in green energy. So, so each one of those scenarios there includes in the calculations presented by McKinsey. Each one of them includes a corresponding price tag for carbon. That's an important point of our discussion here. The need to have a price tag for carbon. Let's say you have the current trajectory scenario. Let's say, taking into account the fact that renewables cost tends to decline. But at the same time, the scenario contemplates the possibility that active policies remain insufficient to close gap to ambition. In the further acceleration scenario, a flattening of energy-related CO2 emissions is projected, with a peak in 2023, followed by an accelerating decline. In the achievement commitment scenario, the expected emissions in 2050 are 30% lower than in the previous scenario, the further acceleration. That would reflect a more rapid shift to renewable source for power generation, as well as an accelerated uptake of new lower carbon technologies in end-use segments, such as road transport and industry. But as you can note, emissions across all scenarios remain far from the requirement for the 1.5 degrees Celsius pathway. But in any case, scenario, let me use as a base the further acceleration scenario. And they show, for instance, here, see, the levels of world energy consumption are expected to flatten in the future, despite economic growth and despite, let's say, the evolution of other aspects. But the idea is that despite rapid growth, the energy consumption is projected to grow by only 14% between now and then. But see, this scenario, this further acceleration scenario, includes the share of electricity and hydrogen in final consumption growing to 32% by 2035 and 50% by 2050. Electrification plays an important role in this, as a shift to electrical solutions tends to come with a steep change in efficiency in many segments, such as space heating and passenger cars. We're counting on that. And the role of electricity in the final consumption mix is projected to grow from roughly 20% today to 40% by 2050. The doubling of electricity consumption combined with the uptake of hydrogen is projected to offset the fossil fuel consumption, which excludes primary demand of coal and gas for power generation, which could be something close to 40% lower in 2050 compared to 2020. C, and the corresponding needs in terms of investment is depicted here in this chart. As you can see, in this scenario, the total annual investments in the energy supply sector are projected to grow by 4% per year, and driven by a significant uptake of demand for clean technologies for the energy transition. Almost all growth is driven by renewables power, right? But despite the underlying decline in fossil fuel demand and its peak in 2024, in this further acceleration scenario, there will still be necessary investments in oil and gas, and they are projected to stay stable. But both trends lead to decarbonization technologies making up more than a fourth of global investments in the energy sector in the early 2030s. And accordingly, the configuration, this is can be seen here in their projection of the role to be played by exactly renewables in the global power generation.